The emergency broadcast rattled through the static, chilling and mechanical. Ominous unknown killer still at large. That was the phrase playing on repeat across television screens and radios, over the buzz of city fear. Weeks had passed and the killer had yet to be caught. No fingerprints, no footage, no leads, just whispers, blood, and the face burned into the minds of those lucky enough to survive. There was one boy. He claimed he had seen him, lived through the night, and now he was ready to talk. "I had a bad dream," the boy began, voice trembling, "and woke up in the middle of the night." He blinked in the soft red light of the recording booth, his hands clenched tightly in his lap. The window was open. "I'd closed it before I went to sleep. I was sure of it." He'd gotten up to shut it, the chilly night air pushing gently against his skin like unseen fingertips. Then he crawled back under the covers and closed his eyes, trying to push the unease away. But something kept him awake. A feeling, no, a certainty, that he was being watched. His eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the moonlight spilling through the curtains. That's when he saw them. Two pitch-black pits, rimmed in shadows, glowing faintly in the pale strip of light. Not normal eyes. Cold. Fixed. Watching. Waiting. Below them, a mouth began to stretch. What? Inhuman. A carved, joyless grin that seemed to split the face in half. Not smiling with amusement. Smiling like a predator. The boy froze. Every hair on his body stood on end. Then the voice came, calm, slow, and insane. "Go to sleep." The boy screamed. He barely had time to react before the figure lunged forward, knife glinting. He leapt onto the bed, swinging the blade down. The boy fought, kicked, twisted, barely keeping the weapon from plunging into his chest. That's when his bedroom door exploded open. His father, shotgun raised, stepped inside with pure fury behind his eyes. The man on top of the boy turned just in time. A flick of his wrist. A flash of silver. The knife hurled through the air, slicing into the father's shoulder before he could shoot. Blood sprayed the walls. The gun clattered to the floor. But the killer didn't finish the job. He heard something. Sirens. The neighbor must have called. The man darted for the window, shattering it with a single blow, and vanished into the darkness, just as red and blue lights began to flash outside. The boy scrambled to the broken glass, peering out into the woods behind the house. He saw a shape, slim, quick, inhumanly fast, fading into the trees. He never forgot that face. And as police flooded the house inspecting the scene, the town knew one thing for certain. The killer was still out there. A few weeks earlier, Jeff and his family had moved into a quiet neighborhood nestled at the edge of town. His father had landed a new job, a big promotion that promised stability and a bigger home. It was supposed to be a fresh start. A cleaner, better life. Jeff wasn't thrilled, but Lou, his younger brother, seemed hopeful. Jeff didn't talk much anymore. Not since that incident at the last school. His parents never discussed it. They just called it an unfortunate misunderstanding. But Jeff remembered what he'd done. He remembered how it had felt. The unpacking was mindless. His mom chatted with neighbors. A woman named Barbara introduced herself, smiling too widely, with a kid named Billy bouncing around her feet. Jeff stayed back while Lou gave polite hellos. Billy's birthday was in a few days, and of course their mother had agreed they would attend. Jeff hated the idea. He didn't like being around other kids. He didn't like being around people, period. But he kept his mouth shut. That night, as he lay in his new room staring at the ceiling, he felt it again. That pull. Like something inside him was stirring. The next morning at breakfast, Lou cracked a joke about how dorky the neighborhood was, but Jeff didn't laugh. He just poked at his food, the sensation in his chest growing stronger, like a silent fire building behind his ribs. They walked to the bus stop together. It was still early. Mist clung to the sidewalk like a warning. Then it happened. A skateboard flew past them, barely missing Jeff's knee. It screeched to a stop just a few feet away. A kid, maybe 16, cocky, wiry, grinned at them. Well, look what we got here. Fresh meat. Two more boys appeared behind him. One thin and pale, the other massive, slow-eyed and drooling. Jeff stepped forward without blinking. What do you want? The leader smirked. A toll. We run this stop. New kids pay. Lou moved to speak, but one of them flashed a knife, not playfully, not in threat, but in routine. Like it wasn't the first time they'd done this. Jeff's jaw clenched. His hands balled into fists. That burning inside his chest surged up his neck. His pulse roared in his ears. The boy with the knife reached into Lou's pocket and pulled out his wallet. That was it. Jeff moved without thinking. One punch to the nose. Crack. Blood sprayed. Another grab. A wrist twist. The knife dropped. The others attacked. Jeff was faster. He ducked, kicked, grabbed the blade from the ground and slashed in one fluid motion. Not to kill, yet, but to hurt. To send a message. By the time they stumbled backward, one was clutching his side, another was puking, and the leader was on the ground, gasping. Lou just stared, stunned. What the hell, Jeff? But Jeff didn't answer. He didn't know how to explain the joy he'd felt. The way everything had clicked. Like his body was made for this. The bus rolled up moments later, horn blaring, and the brothers took off. The driver spotted the bleeding boys and rushed out to help. By the time Jeff and Lou made it to school, they said nothing. There were whispers in the halls by lunch. Jeff just sat in silence, smiling softly. That feeling didn't go away. It lingered under his skin like electricity. He walked home slowly, watching the trees move, wondering what it would feel like to hurt again. When they got home, their parents were furious. The police had already called. 3 kids injured. Witnesses. Jeff didn't deny it. He couldn't. Lou tried to cover for him. Pulled a knife from the kitchen and claimed it had been him. The officers didn't believe it until Lou rolled up his sleeves, showing bruises and cuts Jeff hadn't noticed. Jeff screamed. No. Was me. He's lying to protect me. But it was too late. The officers had already cuffed Lou, leading him to the car. Jeff stood in the driveway, watching helplessly as the door closed and the engine rumbled to life. His mom touched his shoulder. Jeff, stop lying. We know it was Lou. No one believed him. Not even the people who were supposed to love him most. Later that night, Jeff lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. The feeling inside him had changed. It wasn't just heat now. It was a scream. A voice that whispered he didn't belong here. That the world was twisted and he was the only one seeing it clearly. He didn't cry. He didn't blink. He just smiled. Because deep down, Jeff finally understood something. The killer wasn't out there. He was already inside. It was Billy's birthday. The sun was out, the yard was a mess of balloons, folding chairs, and cheap plastic tables stacked with presents. The smell of barbecue hung in the air, kids were screaming over music, and Jeff stood beside the drinks cooler like a ghost among the living. His mother had forced him into a white button-up shirt and combed his hair flat. She smiled like nothing was wrong. Like his brother wasn't sitting in juvenile detention for a crime he didn't commit. Jeff's knuckles still ached. His jaw was locked. Every sound around him grated like knives dragging on glass. Barbara waved from across the lawn. Come on, Jeff. There's cake soon. He didn't answer. He felt like he was watching it all from behind a window, a painted smile over a world he didn't belong to. Billy ran up, tugging on Jeff's sleeve. Wanna hit the piñata? Jeff stared at him. His face was round, cheeks sticky with frosting. The boy reminded him of something fragile. Breakable. No, Jeff said quietly. Billy blinked. Why not? Jeff leaned down, his voice low and cold. Because I don't like games. The boy's smile faltered. He backed away, unsure whether to laugh or cry. Jeff turned away, walking toward the edge of the yard where the trees began. He stood there, staring into the woods. It was quiet there. Safer. More honest. But fate, it seemed, wasn't done with him yet. Laughter erupted behind him, too sharp, too familiar. The same boys from the bus stop. Randy, Troy, and Keith. Bandaged, bruised, but walking straight through the party like they'd been invited. They didn't even try to hide it. Jeff saw the flicker of silver under Randy's jacket. Keith elbowed a kid out of the way, snagging a slice of cake. Troy grabbed a balloon and popped it with a penknife, grinning like a child setting a fire. Jeff's body tensed. No one else seemed to notice. Barbara called out, "Everything okay, boys?" Randy smiled. "Perfect." Jeff turned to go inside, but they followed him. Into the house. Into the kitchen. That's where it happened. Fast. Randy slammed the door shut behind them. Keith grabbed Jeff's arms. Troy pulled a knife. "You think you're tough?" Randy hissed. "Made us look weak. Humiliated us." Jeff struggled. His back hit the countertop. "You're gonna pay for that." Then the blade came down. Not into Jeff, but into his shoulder. Searing pain lit up his world. He gasped, falling to the ground. "Hold him," Randy barked. Keith pinned him while Troy kicked him in the ribs again and again. Jeff's mind began to blur. But inside, that fire exploded. The voice returned. "Let go." A scream left his throat, not of fear but fury. He twisted, yanking his body free, the knife still lodged in his shoulder. He ripped it out. Blood poured down his arm. And then everything changed. He moved with something primal, something feral. A slash across Troy's chest. A stab to Keith's thigh. Randy swung a bottle. It shattered on Jeff's face. He stumbled back, eyes burning from the alcohol. They were shouting now. Someone had opened the door. Barbara screamed. More kids screamed. Jeff couldn't see clearly. The liquid stung his eyes, his skin. Something was spilled. Something flammable. Then Keith, panicking, pulled a lighter from his pocket. No. Too late. A spark. A flash. And fire. The kitchen exploded into flame. Jeff barely remembered what happened next. Screaming. His mother pulling him out, his skin crackling. Then darkness. When he awoke, it was to the blinding white of a hospital room. The pain was unspeakable. His face wrapped in gauze. His chest bandaged. One arm immobilized. Machines beeped in rhythm with his heart. A nurse stood over him. "You're lucky to be alive." Jeff tried to speak. Only a rasp came out. "Don't talk," she said gently. "You were badly burned. But you're safe now. The boys, they told the truth. You were defending yourself. You're not in trouble." He stared up at her. She smiled. It was warm. Human. He didn't feel human anymore. Days passed. Then weeks. The gauze came off slowly, piece by piece. One morning, the doctor stood beside him with a mirror. "Now, Jeff, this will be a shock. But your skin is healing. The nerves, well, there's damage. But we've done our best." He held up the mirror. Jeff looked. And didn't blink. His face was bleached pale. Chalk white. The alcohol and fire had burned through pigmentation, nerves, even hair. His eyelids were raw, stretched slightly open. His mouth wouldn't close properly anymore. The skin had healed into a tight, unnatural grin. The doctor looked worried. "We can discuss surgery later. Once the tissue." Jeff began to laugh. Quietly at first, then louder. The doctor stepped back. Jeff. He couldn't stop, because now he saw it. He finally looked the way he felt. And it was beautiful. When he was discharged, his parents tried to be normal. His mother hovered. His father busied himself with silent chores. They'd gotten Lou back from detention. He rushed to hug Jeff the second he walked through the door. But Jeff didn't hug back. He just whispered, "You lied for me." Lou nodded. "Yeah, you're my brother." Jeff stared at him. "Don't lie again." That night, Jeff stood in the bathroom under the harsh light. He stared at his face in the mirror. He ran his hand over the pale skin. He blinked once, slowly. Then he opened the drawer, pulled out a long, thin blade, and smiled. Lou woke up at 2:17 a.m. He'd heard something. Soft steps across the carpet. He sat up. "Jeff." No answer. Then his door creaked open. Jeff stood in the hallway, smiling. "Go to sleep," he whispered. Lou didn't sleep the rest of that night. He lay frozen under his covers, watching the crack beneath the door, half expecting his brother's pale face to appear again. But nothing came. No creak of floorboards. No whisper. Just silence and the ticking of the old clock on the hallway wall. The next morning, Jeff sat at the kitchen table like nothing had happened. He wore a hoodie with the hood up, casting his bleached face in shadow, but Lou could still see the smile. It was always there now. That permanent grin, skin pulled too tight, mouth stretched unnaturally wide. Their mother placed a plate of pancakes in front of Jeff. "I made your favorite." Jeff didn't touch it. Lou sat down cautiously across from him. "Did you come into my room last night?" Jeff tilted his head. "No," he said. His voice was like rust scraping metal. Lou frowned. "You told me to go to sleep." Jeff's eyes didn't blink. "Did you?" Their mother sipped coffee, oblivious. Lou didn't eat either. That night, Lou locked his door and pushed a chair against it, just in case. But Jeff didn't come. Not that night, nor the next. But something had changed in the house. It felt colder, quieter. Jeff stopped speaking during the day. He rarely blinked, rarely moved unless startled. His hands, always pale, had become thinner, twitchier. He took to standing in the hallway, staring into mirrors, sometimes for hours. Once, Lou passed the bathroom door and caught Jeff just watching himself, grinning, not moving. The light flickered, casting long shadows behind him. Lou backed away without saying a word. Then one morning he woke to find the family dog, a small terrier named Max, dead in the hallway. No blood, no visible wounds, just lying there, still warm. Jeff stood nearby, staring. Their mother screamed, rushed over, picked up the dog and cried. Jeff didn't flinch. He just whispered. He looked tired. Lou's skin crawled. Their father tried to speak to Jeff that night. He sat down beside him on the couch, voice soft, controlled. Jeff, I know this has been hard for all of us, but we're here for you. Jeff stared at the television screen. Static flickered in his reflection. Sometimes, trauma takes different shapes, his father continued. But you're still our son. Jeff slowly turned his head. Am I? He asked. His father swallowed. Of course you are. Jeff smiled wider. No, I don't think I am anymore. His father didn't respond. The next morning, their mother found the living room mirror shattered, and long scratches dug into the wooden floor, like someone had dragged a knife across it, slowly, purposefully. Later that day, a neighbor knocked on the door. She looked pale, eyes wide. I just wanted to ask, if your son is okay? She asked. Lou's mother blinked. Jeff. The woman nodded. I saw him outside. Last night. He was standing in our yard. Around 2 a.m. Just watching the house. I thought it was a prank, but he didn't move for almost 30 minutes. He just stood there, smiling. That night, Lou didn't sleep. He didn't even try. He sat in bed with a baseball bat in his lap and his eyes on the door. 2 a.m. came. Then 3. Nothing. But the next morning, the neighbor's cat was found mutilated in the street. Jeff didn't say anything at breakfast. He just ate his cereal in silence, that twisted smile painted across his pale face. Lou wanted to tell someone. A teacher. A cop. Anyone. But who would believe him? Jeff's acting creepy wouldn't mean much without proof. And Jeff was smart. Smarter than before. Clever in the way predators are clever. That weekend, their parents planned a night out, a charity dinner. Lou begged them not to go. I don't feel safe, he whispered to his mom. Please. She kissed his forehead. Honey, Jeff's your brother. He loves you. But that wasn't love in Jeff's eyes anymore. It was hunger. That night, as the garage door rolled closed behind their parents' car, Lou stood alone in the living room. The silence wrapped around him like ice. He turned on every light in the house, locked every door, kept the bat in his hand. But at 1:43 a.m., the lights flickered, then went out, all at once. Darkness swallowed everything. Lou's breathing turned shallow. He grabbed a flashlight and crept through the hallway, heart pounding. Jeff, he called out. Silence. Then footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. From upstairs. Lou backed into the kitchen, reaching for the phone. No dial tone. Dead. The flashlight began to dim. The footsteps grew louder. Then they stopped. He waited. No sound. Nothing. He crept toward the staircase, bat raised. Then, movement behind him. He spun around and saw Jeff, standing in the kitchen doorway. Eyes wide. Smile carved across his face. In one hand, a knife gleamed. Lou stumbled back. Jeff, please, he whispered. Don't do this. Jeff tilted his head. Do what? This isn't you. Jeff stepped forward. It is me, Lou. Finally. He lunged. Lou dodged, swinging the bat, catching Jeff in the ribs. He crumpled with a groan, but rose again like a puppet on strings. Lou ran. Through the living room, up the stairs into his bedroom. He slammed the door, locked it, pressed his back against it, panting. Then silence again. No footsteps. No breathing. Just stillness. And then, soft knocking. Go to sleep, Jeff whispered from the other side. Lou screamed. Sirens blared in the distance. Red and blue lights washed over the windows. Someone had called the police. The door burst open downstairs. Boots stomped through the halls. Officers shouting. Jeff didn't resist. He dropped the knife. Smiled at the cops. They said he didn't even blink when they cuffed him. Just grinned wide-eyed. Like it was all part of the plan. He was taken away that night. To a psychiatric facility. He didn't speak for days. Then weeks. Until one day he did. To a nurse. He whispered something before she turned away. The next morning they found her dead in the staff room. Throat slit. Smiling. Jeff had vanished. No alarms tripped. No footage. Gone. Like smoke. Like a nightmare that slips between the cracks of waking life. Since then the story spread. Of a boy with a white face and a carved grin. Of children disappearing from their beds. Of strange laughter in the dark. Of 2 words whispered before the silence. Go to sleep. The world moved on. Or at least it tried to. The newspapers ran the story for 3 days before something newer stole the headlines. Teen burn victim vanishes after murder. His face, the pale, stretched photo from his hospital ID, became another curiosity on a forgotten shelf of horrors. Another cold case buried under dust. But in the towns surrounding Jeff's last known location, they didn't forget. Not the neighbors. Not the children who had once seen him from their windows. Not the families who suddenly found bedrooms empty in the middle of the night. The legend began quietly. A whisper in hallways. A rumor on message boards. A warning shared in sleepover dares. Jeff the killer. They said he only came at night. That he moved between shadows, slipping in through windows left cracked, closets left open, or vents that hummed in strange tones when the moon was full. And that he only ever said one thing before he struck. Go to sleep. One town over, a mother named Claire woke to the sound of her daughter screaming. She sprinted down the hall, heart hammering, flipping on every light as she ran. Janie, I'm here. The girl stood in the corner of her bedroom, clutching her teddy bear, eyes wide. He was here, she whispered. Claire searched the room. Nothing. Just an open window letting in cold air. Who, baby? The smiling man, Janie whispered. Claire didn't sleep for the rest of the night. 2 weeks later, the neighbor's son went missing. The only sign left behind was a bloody handprint on his windowsill and a message carved into the desk. Go to sleep. Police found nothing. No prints. No trace. They stopped talking to reporters after that. Lou tried to forget. Tried to build a life that didn't revolve around his brother's twisted smile. He moved across the country, changed his name, even dyed his hair. But nightmares followed. Sometimes he woke with scratch marks on his arms. Once he found a note slipped under his pillow. Still awake, little brother? Lou moved again. But the shadow always seemed to catch up. And he wasn't the only one. A boy in Ohio swore his parents vanished one night, their bedroom soaked in blood. All that was left was a white hoodie hung neatly on the doorknob and a trail of footsteps leading into the woods that stopped mid-path. A girl in Utah posted a video in tears, saying she saw someone standing in her room while she slept. Her phone captured only static after midnight. She never posted again. A security guard at a psychiatric hospital in Oregon was found with his throat slit and a smile carved from cheek to cheek. The cameras went black for 11 minutes. When they came back online, the hallway was empty. The killer didn't take money, didn't leave messages anymore, just vanished. But always, someone nearby would remember hearing the same soft voice. Go to sleep. It was no longer a warning. It was a promise. Lou began keeping a journal. He filled it with maps, red lines, pins where the killings happened. He tried to find patterns, tried to predict where Jeff would go next. But there was no pattern, no logic, just chaos. One night, he received an email from an anonymous address. No subject, no text, just a photo. A grainy black and white image of Lou asleep in his bed, from the corner of the room. He hadn't told anyone where he lived. He didn't sleep that night. A week later, a woman named Dr. Karen Liscombe reached out. She claimed to be a psychiatrist who once worked at the facility Jeff escaped from. I believe he's beyond treatment, she said, but not beyond study. Lou met her in a diner 2 towns away. She brought a thick folder, files, photos, scribbled notes. I think your brother isn't just sick, she said. I think something entered him. During the fire. Lou frowned. You mean trauma? No, she said. I mean something else. Something inhuman. She slid a photo across the table. A security cam still from the night Jeff disappeared. His face looked right at the lens, pale, eyes wide, the grin somehow stretching too far. As if his skin wasn't bound by bone anymore. There were anomalies, she said. Lights flickering. Magnetic disturbances. Staff claiming to see things that weren't there. And the nurse, she carved the same message into her own chest before she bled out. Lou stared. The message, go to sleep. I think he's become something else, she said. Not just a killer. A force. Then how do we stop him? Lou asked. She didn't answer. That night, Dr. Liscombe's house burned to the ground. Her body was never found. But her neighbor's dog wouldn't stop barking for hours. And in the ashes of her office, firemen discovered a single sheet of paper, untouched by the flames. It read, he's coming. Lou stopped running after that. He started preparing instead. He stopped sleeping in beds. Stopped using windows. He bought blackout curtains, padlocks, motion sensors. But every so often he would wake up with the covers turned down. Or find the words, still awake, fogged onto his mirror. Once he caught a glimpse in the reflection, not in the mirror but in his eyes. A pale face, watching, smiling. Years passed. The legend grew. Online forums shared his story. Kids dared each other to whisper his name in the dark. Urban explorers sought out the ruins of his old neighborhood, filming grainy YouTube videos with clickbait titles like, "We found Jeff the Killer's house, gone wrong." Some were never heard from again. The smart ones left the story alone. But Jeff didn't stop. He never stopped. Lou knew the truth. Jeff had become something more than human. A boogeyman that wore his brother's face. And somewhere beneath that pale grin, Lou hoped there was still a piece of the real Jeff. The one who used to laugh, to cry, to protect him from bullies. But hope dies in silence. And the silence was always louder when Jeff was near. One rainy night, Lou stood in a motel room off an empty highway. He sat on the edge of the bed, holding a small voice recorder. "If this is my last entry," he whispered, "then know this wasn't a dream. Jeff's real. He's still out there. And he never sleeps." He paused. I think he's coming tonight." The power went out. Lou didn't move. He just sat there, listening, waiting. In the darkness, he heard a soft voice. So close, it was like it came from inside his head. "Go to sleep." The motel room was dead silent. No hum of the fridge. No distant cars. Even the rain outside had gone still, like the world itself was holding its breath. Lou sat motionless, the recorder in his hand, the light on its side blinking red. "Go to sleep." The voice had come from behind him. Close. Too close. He didn't turn. Didn't need to. He could feel him there, the cold presence, the thick scent of something burnt and wrong, the electric weight of eyes pressed into the back of his skull. The smile. Always the smile. Lou spoke, voice dry. "Why now?" Silence. Then the sound of slow, deliberate footsteps on the old motel carpet. The creak of floorboards aching under weight that didn't seem human anymore. "You've been watching me for years," Lou said. "Why now?" Jeff's voice came, a whisper mixed with static. "Because you're finally tired." Lou closed his eyes. "You're not real. You're just what's left of a nightmare." The laugh that came wasn't human. Not anymore. It gurgled, deep, like something caught between a throat and a scream. "I'm what you made me, Lou." "No," Lou said quietly. "You made yourself." He turned then, slowly, expecting the monster, the wide, pale face, the hair black as a void, those eyes that never blinked. But the room was empty. No one stood behind him. Just the mirror, cracked, fogged, barely reflecting his shape in the dimness. The movement from inside the mirror. A pale hand pressed against the glass. Fingers long, too long, smeared in something dark. Lou stumbled back, knocking over the nightstand. The mirror cracked again. A fissure down the middle. And Jeff stepped through. He didn't climb or emerge. He just stepped as if the glass wasn't even there. His hoodie hung loose, scorched at the edges. His skin was wrong, not flesh anymore, but something stretched and dried, like old wax molded into a grin. His eyes, they weren't eyes. They were pits of endless black, and in them Lou saw memories. Burning houses, screaming faces. A boy curled in a hospital bed, staring into the dark. Jeff smiled. "Hi, Lou." Lou backed away. "You're not my brother." Jeff tilted his head, smile wider now, somehow cracking his cheeks further. "Sure I am. I'm what's left of him. The part you couldn't save." He raised a knife. Long rusted. Still dripping. Lou grabbed the recorder and hurled it. It bounced off Jeff's shoulder. The killer didn't flinch. "You've been running from shadows," Jeff said. "But I'm the shadow. I'm every creak at night. Every breath that's not yours in the dark." Lou bolted for the door. It didn't open, no matter how hard he pulled. The air grew colder. Behind him, Jeff whispered again. "Go to sleep." Lou turned, heart racing, fists clenched. "I'm not afraid of you." Jeff stepped forward. "You should be." Lou grabbed the metal leg of the nightstand, swinging wildly. It struck Jeff's head with a sickening crack. Jeff staggered but only laughed. Blood, or something black and steaming, oozed from the wound. He looked amused. Excited. "I was hoping you'd fight," Jeff whispered. Lou ran again, this time to the bathroom. Locked the door. Stared at his reflection. But it wasn't his reflection staring back. It was Jeff. Smiling. Lou punched the mirror, glass shattering. Shards embedded in his knuckles. He dropped to the floor, breathing hard. In the silence, the hum returned. A low, vibrating noise like insects buzzing behind the walls. And then the bathroom lights flickered, and went red. In the mirror fragments, Lou saw Jeff. Standing right behind him. Lou turned. But the bathroom was empty. Except one shard of mirror still intact. It showed Jeff standing over him, knife raised. Lou lunged. Fought nothing but air. Yet the knife still sliced across his shoulder. He screamed, fell back, clutching the wound. Jeff whispered from nowhere and everywhere, "Sleep." Lou grabbed the largest shard of mirror and slashed into the air. And something howled. Not Jeff. Something within Jeff. The lights burst. The mirror exploded. And then, silence again. The door creaked open on its own. Lou limped out into the motel room, blood dripping. The mirror was gone. Jeff was gone. Just the recorder on the floor, blinking red. Still recording. Lou picked it up, raised it to his lips. If anyone hears this. He hesitated. He's not gone. Not really. He's in the mirrors. In reflections. In your head. He waits until you're tired. Until your eyes begin to close. That's when he moves. He looked around. The window was open now. He didn't remember opening it. The wind blew in, cold and sharp, whispering something between the gusts. A laugh. And very close. Lou left the motel that night. Never stayed in the same town twice again. He tried to warn people. Tried to fight the myth. But every time someone said Jeff the killer isn't real, a new story would surface. A girl found smiling in her sleep, slit from ear to ear. A security cam showing eyes peering from a dark hallway, then static. A kid disappearing, but his phone kept recording audio for hours. Footsteps, breathing, and a whisper. Go to sleep. Years passed. The internet turned Jeff into a meme. A scary pasta. A Halloween costume. But every so often, someone would go too far. Would look into a mirror and say his name 3 times. Would leave their window cracked on a rainy night. Would stay awake too long, alone, thinking they were safe. They never were. And one by one the stories came back. Stronger. Sharper. Hungrier. Jeff didn't want fame. He didn't want attention. He wanted silence. Darkness. And one person awake enough to know they were about to die. His face was no longer just in old images. It was in dreams. In flickers at the corner of your vision. In the reflection that doesn't quite move when you do. They say if you hear footsteps when you're alone, you should never turn around. If you see your mirror fog when you didn't take a shower, don't wipe it. And if you hear someone whisper, go to sleep, don't. Because he's behind you. Smiling. Waiting. Forever awake.